Hello, it's Willie from the Ozarks, and we're ready for our July 22nd lesson, Lesson 203 in A Course in Miracles Workbook for Students. Lesson 203, I am not a body, I am free, for I am still as God created me. I call upon God's name and on my own. God is but love, or I am not a body, I am free, for I am still as God created me. I keep wanting to keep saying my last review, which was God is but love, and therefore so am I, with all the associated reviews. But anyway, this lesson for today, I am not a body, I am free, for I am still as God created me. I call upon God's name and on my own. The name of God is my deliverance from every thought of evil and of sin. Every thought of evil and of sin. Because it is my own as well as His. Because it is my own as well as His. I am not a body, I am free, for I am still as God created me. Well, I think we all understand how to do our reviews now. We're going to spend 15 minutes, and you should be recognizing that this is the most that, as far as time, that Yeshua or Jesus is asking of you. He's asking you for 15 minutes in the morning and 15 minutes in the evening, and He's asking for an hourly remembrance, and then as many times as you can think of it throughout the hour. So, just to allow it to come to you, but for sure take your hour of remembrance throughout the day, which is a little mini short meditation or practice period. And so today we will be doing this lesson 203 that way. I am not a body, I am free, for I am still as God created me. I call upon God's name and on my own. The name of God is my inheritance. The name of God is my deliverance from every thought of evil and of sin, because it is my own as well as His. Stop referring to our oneness with God. God's name is our own. We're one with God. I am not a body, I am free, for I am still as God created me. All right. I'm sitting here underneath a black oak. The bark's black. It's actually a red oak tree. The wood, when you cut, it's red. Opposed to the white oak I showed you the other day. So this is a pretty big tree that's it's actually two trees, and one tree forked low, and the other tree grew up right beside it, and they all grown together. You can see that tree there has a fork in it, and this one grew right beside it, but they've all grown together. So that's a pretty big stump there. In a moment, when we get ready to, after we've read a little bit out of our text, I thought we might take just a minute. I'll show you the treetop, and we'll have just a quiet moment of listening. I think we need to start doing that. Just a little short pause for maybe no more than a half a minute, where you can kind of listen to what's going on. I thought about that yesterday with all the sound of the river, and then I thought, well, it would have been nice just to had Will be quiet for a moment and let you hear what sounds are here. Matter of fact, maybe we should do that right now. Take a look up at this tree. I am not a body, I am free, for I am still as God created me. I call upon God's name and on my own. I am not a body, I am free, for I am still as God created me. Okay, so let's take a look now at our text reading, we're ready for, in chapter 2, paragraph 18, the reinterpretation of defenses. When you are afraid of anything, you are acknowledging its power to hurt you. Remember that where your heart is, there is your treasure also. Where your heart is. Remember Jesus telling us that 2,000 years ago? Where your treasure is, there will your heart be also. This means that you believe in what you value. If you are afraid, you're valuing wrongly. Human understanding will inevitably value wrongly, and by endowing all human thoughts with equal power, will inevitably destroy peace. Human understanding will inevitably value wrongly, and by endowing all human thoughts with equal power, will inevitably destroy peace. That is why the Bible speaks of the peace of God which passeth understanding, or human understanding. This peace is totally incapable of being shaken by human errors of any kind. It denies the ability of anything which is not of God to affect you in any way. That should be reassuring. We want to get to that place in our awareness. We're already there in our reality. Now we just got to bring our consciousness to it. This is the proper use of denial. It is not used to hide anything, but to correct error. It brings all error into the light. And since error and darkness are the same, it corrects error automatically. True denial is a powerful protective device. You can and should deny any belief that error can hurt you. This kind of denial is not a concealment device, but a correction device. The right mind of the mentally healthy depends on it. You can do anything I ask. I have asked you to perform miracles and have made it clear that miracles are natural, corrective, healing, and universal. There is nothing good they cannot do, but they cannot be performed in the spirit of doubt. 20. God and the souls He created are completely dependent on each other. The creation of the soul has already been perfectly accomplished, but the creation by souls has not. God created souls so He could depend on them because He created them perfectly. He gave them His peace so they could not be shaken and would be unable to be deceived. Whenever you are afraid, you are deceived. Whenever you are afraid, you are deceived. Wow, if we could keep that in mind, we could start looking for our mental wandering where we've made a detour into fear, and we could straighten our mind out. First thing you got to know is that you have made that wrong turn in mind and thought, and fear is the indicator. So when you lose your peace, that's the indicator that you need to straighten your mind out and stop, be still, and ask for help. Your mind is not serving the soul. This literally starves the soul by denying its daily bread. Let's back up. Whenever you are afraid, you are deceived. Your mind is not serving the soul. This literally starves the soul by denying its daily bread. God offers only mercy. Your words should reflect only mercy because that is what you have received and that is what you should give. Of course, that daily bread is a reference to our Lord's Prayer, where He told us to ask for our daily bread. Whenever you are afraid, you are deceived, and your mind is not serving the soul. This literally starves the soul by denying its daily bread. God offers only mercy. Your words should reflect only mercy because that is what you have received and that is what you should give. 21. Justice is a temporary expedient or an attempt to teach man the meaning of mercy. Justice is a temporary expedient or an attempt to teach man the meaning of mercy. Its judgmental side arises only because man is capable of injustice, if that is what his mind creates. You are afraid of God's will because you have used your own will, which he created in the likeness of his own, to miscreate. What you do not realize is that the mind can miscreate only when it is not free. An imprisoned mind is not free by definition. It is possessed or held back by itself. Its will is therefore limited and is not free to assert itself. The real meaning of "are of one kind," which was mentioned before, is "are of one mind" or will. So you're connected in will. You're of one mind or one will. When the will of the sonship and the Father are one, their perfect accord is heaven. So that's what we want. We're trying to reach that place in our awareness that we are in perfect accord with the Father, the Son and the Father in perfect accord, which is heaven. 22. Denial of error is a powerful defense of truth. Okay, denial of error is a powerful defense of truth. You will note that we have been shifting the emphasis from the negative to the positive use of denial. As we have already stated, denial is not a purely negative device. It results in positive miscreation. That is the way the mentally ill do employ it. It results in positive miscreation. That is the way the mentally ill do employ it. But remember, a very early thought of your own. Never underestimate the power of denial. In the service of the right mind, the denial of error frees the mind and reestablishes the freedom of the will. When the will is really free, it cannot miscreate because it recognizes only truth. So here we're told that we can use denial both positively and negatively. We can either use it to make more miscreations by denying the truth, or we can deny what's not true and allow the truth to be true. And that's how we want to use denial. Deny what's not true. False projection arises out of false denial, not out of its proper use. False projection arises out of false denial, not out of its proper use. So if we deny that what's false, well then that will protect us. But if we deny what is true, that's going to make matters worse. And you'll feel it. That's the beautiful thing we want to get in touch with, is that you'll sense your lack of peace, and you'll be able to stop and say, okay, I've thought a thought that God wouldn't think, or I haven't thought a thought that God would think, but I need to stop and be still and quiet and let the Holy Spirit teach me. False projection arises out of false denial, not out of its proper use. My own role in the atonement is one of true projection. I can project to you the affirmation of truth. If you project error to me or to yourself, you are interfering with the process. My use of projection, which can also be yours, is not based on faulty denial. It does involve, however, the very powerful use of the denial of errors. The miracle worker is one who accepts my kind of denial and projection, unites his own inerrant abilities to deny and project with mine, and imposes them back on himself and others. This establishes the total lack of threat anywhere. Together we can then work for the real time of peace, which is eternal. The improper use of defenses is quite widely recognized, but their proper use has not been sufficiently understood as yet. The improper use of defenses is quite widely recognized, but their proper use had not been sufficiently understood as yet. Okay, so we're getting a little better understanding. We've all heard of, well, that's you're just using defenses. You're being defensive. Well, but there's a proper use for defenses. He just taught us. They can indeed create man's perceptions both of himself and of the world. They can distort or correct, depending on what you use them for. So if you're going to defend defend yourself against the truth, well, that's going to be miscreation and cause you more troubles. If, on the other hand, you defend yourself against untruth, well, that's going to allow the truth to be true and give you great peace. Denial should be directed only to error, and projection should be reserved only for truth. Okay? So we want to project only truth. That's the extension of love. But denial should be directed only to error, and projection should be reserved only for truth. You should truly give as you have truly received. The golden rule can work effectively only on this basis. Denial should be directed only to error, and projection should be reserved only for truth. You should truly give as you have truly received. The golden rule can work effectively only on this basis. Intellectualizing is a term which stems from a mind-brain confusion. Right-mindedness is the device which defends the right mind and gives it control over the body. Intellectualizing implies a split, while right-mindedness involves healing. 27. Withdrawal is properly employed in the service of withdrawing from the meaningless. Okay, now there is a usefulness of withdrawing. Withdrawal is properly employed in the service of withdrawing from the meaningless. It is not a device for escape, but for consolidation. There is only one mind. Disassociation is quite similar. You should split off or dissociate yourself from error, but only in defense of integration. Detachment is essentially a weaker form of dissociation. Flight can be undertaken in whatever direction you choose, but note that the concept itself implies flight from something. Flight from error is perfectly appropriate. Distantiation can be properly used as a way of putting distance between yourself and what you should fly from. Regression is an effort to return to your own original state. It can thus be utilized to restore, rather than to go back to the less mature. Sublimation should be a redirection of effort to the sublime. There are many so-called dynamic concepts which are profound errors due essentially to the misuse of defenses. Among them is the concept of different levels of aspiration, which actually result from level confusion. However, the main point to be understood from this section is that you can defend truth as well as error, and in fact, much better. All right, so we just went through a lot of different words that are used in psychotherapy. And he says that, however, the main point to be understood from this section is that you can defend truth as well as error, and in fact, much better. So let's spend our time defending truth. All right? Okay, hey, look, I've got something I want to show you. I got a periwinkle plant right here that I dug up from my friend John's yesterday. And I'm going to get it started in this pot, and then I'm going to plant it around trees such as this right here. Periwinkle is kind of a low-growing vine, nice ground cover. But what I was also interested in was all the uses it has. I found this on rxlist.com. Periwinkle it's also known as Vinca minor, by the way, that's the Latin name. Periwinkle is used for diarrhea, vaginal discharge, throat ailments, tonsillitis, chest pain, high blood pressure, sore throat, intestinal pain and inflammation, toothache, and water retention. It can be unsafe, particularly people with low blood pressure. You take this, it'll even lower it more. Um, and another thing, it can have some negative effects on other areas. So, you want to really know what you're doing using this one. But it says here on the RX list, it says, despite serious safety concerns, periwinkle is used for brain health, increases blood circulation in the brain, metabolism, increasing mental productivity, preventing mental and concentration problems, feebleness, improving memory and thinking ability, and prevents early aging of brain cells. So we want to learn how to use this in a responsible way. But as all these herbs and plants, we want to know how to use them safely for ourselves. So don't, be sure to get good supervision, and don't just start taking these things without understanding how they really do affect people. But anyway, it does have some really nice qualities. I liked it because it stays green year-round. So nice ground cover. All right, so that's Vinca minor, also known as common periwinkle. All right, let's go back and look at our lesson once again before we close. Lesson 203. I am not a body, I am free, for I am still as God created me. I call upon God's name and on my own. The name of God is my deliverance from every thought of evil and of sin, because it is my own as well as His. It is my own name as well as His. I am not a body, I am free, for I am still as God created me. I call upon God's name and on my own. I am not a body, I am free, for I am still as God created me.